Hello everyone, so unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know about Minecraft 1.17, the Caves and Cliffs update. We've already had a few snapshots of this update, and I think most of you can agree that this update is absolutely phenomenal. Now the Dream SMP members have already said that the server will be restarting when 1.17 comes out, which means everyone is gonna start from scratch again, and the Dream SMP and Cave update would be amazing. So I took the time going through all of the features of 1.17 and show you guys a prediction of what Dream SMP will look like in the update. Before we dive into the video, if you like my content, then I'll just ask you once to subscribe so you won't ever miss an upload from me, which is actually very common because of my horrible upload schedule. That being said, let's get into the video. Oh, and one more thing. While I'm writing the script, the current latest snapshot is 21W8A, so this video might be a little outdated. However, I'll try my best to include the stuff that comes after the snapshot in the later parts of the video. Enjoy! The story of Dream SMP Season 2 will obviously depend on the ending of Season 1. Right now, the story seems to be at a stale position. L'Manberg has been destroyed, Dream is in prison, the rule of the Empire is spreading, and Tubbo seems to be busy making a new faction called Snowchester. What's interesting is that Tubbo is stockpiling nukes, and he wants to use them when Snowchester is in danger. At this point, judging by recent events, the server will most likely end in a nuclear war, destroying all civilization, and thus the members have to move on to another server, which is Dream SMP Season 2. There are two paths that the story could take from there: government or no government. Governments and countries are what make the Dream SMP special, so they will probably stay. In this case, there are tons of possible story arcs that could happen, so I won't go into detail about those. What I'd like to talk about is what would happen if there weren't any government. If this happens, then they could easily bring the Warden into the plot. The Warden is a mysterious and powerful creature, so they could make an arc surrounding it. An arc about the Warden's backstory would be pretty cool, so it would definitely be worth watching. Anyways, let's move on to how countries will operate in Season 2 next. Countries and governments are some of the most defining features of the server, and the conflicts between governments and their people are mainly what set the Dream SMP apart from other servers. So Season 2 of Dream SMP not having any countries would be incredibly surprising. 1.17 gives a lot of variety to forming countries, since the update has added multiple new biomes to the overworld, in both caves and mountains. So one of the first things that comes to mind when thinking about how the server will operate is more governments. Season 2 might introduce new cultures to countries, and even increase the number of countries in the server. A country atop the mountains are understandably gonna have a vastly different lifestyle than a country inside a large cave system. This difference in culture may range from basic infrastructure to even ideologies, but this all depends on the members of the server, since they're the ones who control the plot. Moreover, if Season 2 does introduce new countries and cultures like I said, then we might even get to see stuff like trade and commerce, and even diplomacy. A country living in the mountains is gonna have a harder time getting food than a country living in the caves, so it would be perfect to introduce trade and commerce to the server. Members like Technoblade and Dream will probably try to stop these countries, but in my opinion, it's gonna be a lot harder for them to do that since the new terrain is much more hazardous than before. Plus, it's harder to destroy two allied countries than one. The change of terrain in this update will also definitely change war tactics. Think about it. How cool would it be if Techno and Dream used TNT launchers to destroy cities on top of the mountains? Or if they had to use TNT dupers to mine out large portions of the underground to find hidden cities. That's all I have to say about countries, so let's move on to how the people themselves will operate individually. First of all, given that the lore doesn't change in Season 2, members like Tubbo, Quackity, and Fundy will most likely stay on the government side like before. Tommy probably will too. Because of the variety in countries, I'd also imagine these characters to also have more distinct traits, and it would be pretty interesting to see conflicts between members of different nations and cultures. Technoblade and Dream will probably stay anti-government like before, but this time, it's gonna be more interesting to watch them because of the change of playstyle. Techno is notorious for having secret bases scattered across different places, and Dream is also known for being mysterious and manipulative, so it would fit them to settle in the caves, as the dark, gloomy atmosphere plus the large labyrinth of tunnels would be beneficial to both of them. I'd also like to talk about Awesome Dude in Dream SMP Season 2. Sam, in my opinion, is incredibly underrated right now, despite being arguably the best redstoner in the server. His machines are already pretty cool to look at, but think of how cooler they could be in 1.17 with the brand new Skulk sensors. So I definitely expect Sam to have more relevance in the plot, possibly as a paid engineer to do redstone for others. Finally, let's talk about Ranboo. Ranboo is known as a half Enderman, yet we don't know any of his origins yet. If Ranboo's origins aren't revealed in Dream SMP Season 1, then it would be perfect to reveal them in Season 2 because of the Deep Dark. Now, Mojang hasn't specified if the Deep Dark has anything to do with the end. However, a lot of people speculate that it does, because of the color palette and the alien-like warden. Plus, Enderman's eyes have inverse colors, so it could be plausible that Endermen used to live in the Deep Dark, so they have a weird eyesight. Even if Mojang doesn't say the Deep Dark is related to the end, as long as they don't outright state that they are non-similar, the Dream SMP members can always make stuff up for the story. So we've already talked about countries and people, but let's talk about the overall gameplay of the Dream SMP that will be affected in 1.17. In Season 2 of Dream SMP, we can expect quite a difference in gameplay from Season 1. First of all, let's talk about traps. Powdered snow is one of the more popular blocks used for traps in current snapshots. It can be used to both hide traps and secret bases, so you can expect it to be used at some point in the SMP. Dripstone will also probably be used as a trap at one point, since it's pretty reliable in killing people quickly. Lightning rods are a less conventional but still effective trap in 1.17. By luring someone into the rod during a thunderstorm, you can do a lot of damage. Drip leaf plants can be used to make games and parkour courses. Let's talk about axolotls as well. Axolotls are definitely gonna be wanted pets in Season 2 because 1, they're adorable, and 2, they're pretty handy when raiding ocean monuments. The spyglass is also probably gonna be used, since although they're basically worthless if you have Optifine, they're still good for role-playing purposes. Now let's talk about the overall gameplay. If mountain and cave cities are established, then TNT launchers and dupers are gonna be more useful than ever to anti-government people, even though they were already pretty useful. Goats can be used as a defense mechanism for mountain cities, since they knock you back ridiculously far. Cave cities are more prone to attack because of TNT dupers, so obsidian roofs will be pretty handy for them. Cave and mountain cities might also have elevators as the entrance, so Sam again would be helpful to the server members. Let's finally talk about the Warden. The Warden is incredibly powerful, so if there was a way to control it, then it would be one of the most valuable weapons of the server. However, I can't confirm this as Mojang hasn't said anything about this. Some people in the internet have suggested using EMP machines, which is a redstone clock connected to two doors turning on and off. This would create infinite noise, meaning that it might be a way to keep the Warden at one spot. If this machine does actually work, then I imagine that the Warden would have a big role in the plot, since it could take on at least 4 or 5 people with max gear at once. So that's basically most of the new stuff affecting the Dream SMP in 1.17 covered, and with that out of the way, let's finally talk about how 1.17 will change Dream SMP. 1.17, being a major update in Minecraft, will give a lot of potential for the Dream SMP to introduce new stuff into the plot. If multiple governments exist in Season 2, then it's gonna be a lot harder for anarchy to prevail. However, it also means that conflicts between governments themselves will arise in some point. This could finally prove to everyone that Techno was right about government causing corruption, and ultimately lead to everyone finally listening to Techno. However, if the governments manage to maintain peace between each other, then it could also lead to Techno's ultimate demise, although I highly doubt that. Now even if there aren't multiple governments, if there was still only one government, then it would still be hard for Techno and his allies as 1.17 brings a ton of traps and weapons to the game. However, this requires the government to be smart if they want to defend their country. Another potential path the story might take is having no government at all. Since Techno and Dream already destroyed government in Season 1, it's possible that they won't bring a new government again in Season 2. In this case, I can see the Warden being a central point of the plot. The Deep Dark is a fascinating place in 1.17, so making a plot about the Warden wouldn't be a bad idea. Ultimately, in Season 2 of Dream SMP, I feel like Techno and Dream are gonna be at more of a disadvantage. I mean, even though I like these two a lot, if they went 2 entire seasons without ever being challenged, especially Techno, then it would make an extremely boring and predictable plot. If the story takes the Warden route, then it could mean that the entire server would have to come together to beat a stronger enemy, so it might mean a Union arc. In the end, these are all predictions, so feel free to disagree. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. If you like my content then subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again next time.